It was a death experience. That something happened after that. What happened was that I was working as a correctional officer at the maximum security prison. In the beginning, when I was investigating for 7 years, I was, doing soul searching of what really happened until I got to the walking answer. So it wasn't a near-death experience. It was a death experience. It's something happened after that. What happened was that I was working as a correctional officer at the maximum security prison of Menard, Illinois. That was, just put it that way, a place that drains all your mental and emotional energies and exchange them with bad ones, whether you want it or not, whether you believe in it or not. I came in there, this happy guy with this old life, just coming in there for the money, for the challenge, for helping the community. But I was never the spiritual type. I was the complete opposite. I was in fact a rebel. I was very materialistic. And every day I walked in there, I truly saw the underworld of our reality, of our generation. Like, you see things that the general public is not supposed to see. See, a lot of people think about 3,500 of the worst criminals of the state of Illinois. And amongst them, there are some people who are also dealing with mental issues, and everything is criminalized. And there's a lot of agony, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot even of sympathy in a way for those who really just ended up there by making a mistake. So there's a mixed emotions that you soak in every time you go. And in your head, you're trying to convince yourself, oh, it's just a job. But it wasn't to me. It was draining me slowly to a point when I couldn't sleep after my shifts. And I was a night guy. I was working at nights, sometimes 14 hours, because we were very short on manpower. So we were doing mandatory overtime. And I used to commute to work 1 hour each way in a Midwestern town, small town, tons of cornfields, boring, just, the same drive every day back to work and from work. And one night, it was a night shift that I remember, and it was the night before the accident. And I remember that because in one of our breaks, see, we couldn't take any smoke breaks inside the prison, or we couldn't bring our cell phones inside the prison. So all of our breaks were outside. So it was a little hill that we used to all gather there. And in one of the breaks, at like 3 a.m., I saw this beautiful shooting star. I think it was a meteor. It was something falling from the sky. And I remember I was just like so shocked that for the first time in my life, I'm seeing something like that really coming down. And I was positive that everybody's going to talk about it in the news the morning after, that look, there's like a falling star and it's like a meteor or something. But it was very noticeable, at least to me and to two of my other friends. But instead, I was the one who made the newspaper. And I'm going to get to my story. So that morning, it was a Tuesday morning, so it was technically my day off. I was not a senior officer. I was only there for 2 years, so my days off were Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I was excited. Nobody could keep me there past my shift, and I was heading home, just like a normal morning. And I remember I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel anything. I was actually uplifted. I was excited to go home and start my 2 days off. And I remember driving the same road, at cornfield, surrounded road, and the speed limit was 70 miles per hour. So I was doing the speed limit. And all of a sudden, as I'm driving, I don't know if I dozed off for a minute. I don't know if I just closed my eyes. Everything happened so fast, but I remember that I'm driving and then I open my eyes and all of a sudden I lose control of the vehicle. My wheel locked, my brakes locked, and I felt like there was no hydraulic fluid at all to even work with. And here I am looking at the speed gauge, and everything is happening so fast. And instead of the speed going down, it's going up from 70 to 75, 80 miles per hour. So really high speed. And I'm like, what's going on? And I can't control the vehicle. And I'm like, and I'm aware and I'm awake. And I have these few seconds to tell myself that I'm probably not going to make it out of it. And before I even get to do anything, I see this car coming right in front of me, and it was 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, and I could see that there was a mom and two kids. She's probably about to drop them off at school. From that moment on, I remember that I told myself that no matter what happens, I'm not going to hurt another person because of either I fell asleep or my mistake or whatnot. So with everything I had, I turned the wheel to the right, and for some reason it worked. And here I am heading into this concrete wall at 80 miles per hour. Now note that closer as I get to the wall, time starts slowing down. And I'm realizing like you know how they say that you can see your whole life passing through. So I didn't see my whole life, but time completely slowed down. Everything was slow motion. And the thing I remember the most is that I used to be a martial arts instructor for 20 years alongside working as a correctional officer. So I'm a guy that if I see danger, I'm usually reacting with my hands, with instinct, try to dodge, to block, just to, I got good instinct. And as I'm heading towards that utility pole or concrete, whatever it was, I'm just smiling. I'm I'm not even worried. I have no fear. It's almost like I'm welcoming it. I'm almost like looking forward to it. And this is the first time that I realized there's two me's because I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are you not scared? Like, where's the part of you that would do that, that would jump out of the car or would try to do something? And instead, I'm sitting there, I'm smiling, laughing, almost like telling myself, is this is how I'm going to go? Like in my uniform on my way back from work? Is this why I'm laughing? Is this why I'm smiling? But apparently, this is not why I was smiling. The reason was discovered years after. And then I remember getting into that wall and I hear the big bang, the blast, and it was the loudest explosion I've ever heard in my life. And I've been in the military. So I've heard some explosions in my life. And when I hit the wall, it was almost like a nuclear device was set off. And all I remember was the airbag starting to deploy, and it looked like it was like a sheet flying in the wind. It was like so beautiful. I'm looking at this airbag just slowly, slow motion deploying, and this was it. That's all I remembered until my experience started. Seconds after, I opened my eyes, and I'm upside down, and I look around me, and I'm completely crushed. If you had a chance to see pictures of the vehicle after the accidents, I'm not sure if you did
I
or
did
not.
not. No.
So when you see that, you tell yourself, how can a person possibly can come out of this alive?
So wait a minute.
Uh,
So you were inside the car still, or did you get thrown
I was
outside?
inside. Apparently, I hit the wall and then I rolled over 5 times in that high speed, and I ended up completely crushed. It's like a soda can that someone stepped on.
Hmm.
And it seems like most of the damage was on the driver's side. It's almost like it was aimed at the driver's side. And the car itself formed, and everything's documented on the video, like four metal swords type things, like forks. They're crossing each other, meaning like if the driver was there at the time of the accident, which is me, he would have been completely
Impaled.
exactly
Where,
hurt.
where were you then?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm upside down and I'm seeing myself and everything is crushed. And I'm like, it was the best feeling I've ever felt my entire life. But first of all, I remembered everything. The second I opened my eyes, I remember me coming back from work. I remember me dozing off. I remember me losing control over the vehicle. I was awake and alert the whole time. The only time I was not was when I hit the wall. But when I woke up, I remembered everything. So I knew I wasn't even dreaming or having a concussion. I knew that I wasn't seeing things. I remember that the most fascinating thing at the time was that there was no sound. What happened to the sound? And when I'm talking about silent, I'm talking about it's almost like something sucked out all the sound out of the world, and it's pleasant. You feel like it's peaceful both physically and mentally. And then I'm looking at myself and I'm like, how come there's no pain? There's no pressure. I mean, I know what happened. I see where I'm at, and I don't feel anything. And you'll realize after that what I felt was real. And then I was trying to smell, and there was no smell. And I'm like, the only thing that's operating are my eyes. And I'm looking outside, and everything is the same. The cornfield is it's a little gray. It's a little depressing outside. There's nobody out. I mean, there's nobody out at the time. And then I realized that something happened because completely relaxed. There was no sound, there's no pain, there's no smell. All of a sudden, I realized I have no thoughts. You know, in this consciousness, we always think, even if we're the most relaxed, we can be in a remote island, relaxing, we'll still be thinking about how much we're relaxing or something. And all of a sudden, it's like everything was empty. I just existed. I didn't have any thoughts. I was just there. It felt good. It felt myself. I felt warm. I felt like something was around me. But I didn't see anything, of course, until I peeked out of the window. Because at one point I realized that I just want to get out of there. And I'm looking at the window, and all of a sudden I see that lady, and she's in her like mid-60s or something. And what I noticed about her the most is she was dressed up all in black. She had a headscarf, but her clothes were like from the 1800s, 1700s. It was not modern clothes. It was not 2014, back when the accident happened. It was not none of that. And she's just walking there, pacing outside the car. It's like 3 feet outside my car, and I'm upside down looking. And she's just walking back and forth. And I remember that I couldn't speak because there's no sound, there's no. So I was just waving with my arms. I was waving for help, hoping she'll call somebody, hoping she'll do something. And all she did was just pacing and waving, no, just with her head, not just like that. And I kept trying, it was the same thing. And then there was the second time that I felt that I was not myself. Because the old me would get really mad really quick, would be really judgmental, would be probably just cussing and asking and screaming and be like, what's going on? How come you're not helping me? Panicking. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I'm not judging you, lady. Maybe you're just scared. Maybe, some people are afraid to do more harm than good by approaching an accident. I was really not judging her. I was just thinking that she's just doesn't want to get involved, and that's okay. And then I closed my eyes and remember, because I wanted to get some extra strength to try to get out, even though everything was just dream state like. And the second I closed my eyes, it wasn't even a split second. I opened them and everything comes back to life. It almost like a pause movie that you just replayed. Everything, the smells, the sound, the smoke. I felt the pressure of the car on me on my right leg. And people around me are just screaming and running. And I just remember that I'm like, what happened? It was so good. Like, why everything is just now activating, and the car smells like gasoline. I was like reaching out and turn it off. The car was still running. And I reached out and I was like, I didn't want to die in a fire or anything like that. So I was like, I turned it off and people running. And I remember this paramedic just tackling the car, screaming through the window at me not to move. And I'm like, sir, I'm okay. I'm 100% okay. Just get me out of here. And it's like, no, we can't. We got to call the firefighters to bring the jaws of life. And for those of you who don't know, the jaws of life are those hydraulic machinery that's supposed to just rip the car open to extract pinned passengers. And I'm like, I'm okay, sir. And he keeps screaming that I'm not okay and that I'm hallucinating, that I'm probably severely hurt because of how the car looked. And they could tell. And then the firefighters came, and I'm closing my eyes, just missing that experience that I just experienced. I really wanted to go there and be there and understand what happened. And I'm hearing them drilling and cutting and ripping the car open and extracting me. And all of a sudden, they're giving me a shot of morphine to my stomach, like against my will. Even like nobody asked me a question. They're just screaming at me not to move. And I realized that I have to play the game because I don't want them to restrain me or anything. I kept saying I'm okay. And the next thing I remember is they're rushing me in an ambulance, of course, to the hospital. And I'm laying there, and there was a sheriff lady writing a report. And I remember saying to her, I said, ma'am, can I ask you a question, please? And she replied that I know, you need to rest. You just had a bad accident. You can talk to me later when I take a statement. And I said, well, I insist to ask you a question if that's okay. And she said, go ahead. And I said, isn't it against the law for a citizen not to help and not a citizen in distress? And she was like, what are you talking about? And the lady that was walking outside the car, and she was like, there was no lady there. We were the first in the scene. There was absolutely nobody there. And after they arrived, there's hundreds of people. But she said at the time, we were first in the scene. And I remember telling myself, like this is getting weird. And this is miracle number one. I'm getting to the hospital, and they're rushing me through everything. I felt like a VIP guest. Like they brought the MRI machines to me, the CT. So they take you to trauma. Trauma, unlike the ER, is like they do things really, really fast. There's no time to waste. And they check me from head to toe. And I'm laying there, and this professor, this doctor comes to me, and he said, listen, I've been here all these years. I've never seen anything like that. And I said, what do you mean, sir? And he said, you don't even have a broken nail, not even a bruise. I'm going to have to let you go. So after like an hour and a half in the ER, after this accident, which if you'll see the pictures, you're not going to believe that.
Please send me please send me the pictures. Please send me the pictures.
Absolutely. And there's a news article. I made the news because 99% of the people don't make it. And the 1% would be severely hurt and probably vegetables for the rest of their lives. And he sent me home. I'm telling you, I felt like I just took a shower. And I was like, I couldn't, it was years of trying to understand what happened that day. It was the new soul molding into this old body in a way of, and I'll explain when you ask me about that, but it was a 7-year process just to realize really what happened there. And it wasn't a near-death experience. Now that I told the story of what happened to Mike on the way back from work and how this new soul entered the body, I will explain the process. See, in order to have a walk-in, you have to have a sudden trauma. You can't have somebody just taking their time or
go to sleep one guy and wake up
exactly and then walking in. It has to be something that is instant. So in order to do something instant, it has to be trauma, and it can be a car accident, it can be a sudden heart attack, something. And when that process happens, you have to understand it's so sudden that nobody will even know around it. Like the average people will be like, wow, he survived a miracle. Wow, like nothing happened to him. Because what happened to me was that I was in between dimensions. When all the people, when they have near-death experiences and they all see sometimes the common sight of the bright light, right? They're seeing their own light. When you ascend out of your body, when you almost all the way there, completely ascending out of your body, you no longer see yourself in those physical eyes. You see light. And this is their own light. This is not the internal light, because when they go to the eternal light, they become part of it forever. But in between, it's like an elevator. You have floor 1, 2, 3, 4, lounge, lobby. Right when you pass, there is this world, but in a spiritual version. And this is where I was. There is in between the world. When we pass away, we continue to remain in this world for a while, but the world is nothing but spiritual. You don't see it physically anymore. It's all spiritual. That's what people see their own body when they pass away. They're like they float and they see their own body, and people. So what do they really see? They see a reality that is no longer part of them, because them doctors cannot see that soul. So you stay in this world, but this world gets a whole new meaning. And what I was that lady. Who was this lady? I still don't know. But I know that I was in a dimension when it's almost like an in-between. If you think about an elevator that goes from floor 1 to floor 2 and gets stuck in between. At the time, because now I know that it's completely different. But at the time when I was battling who I was versus who I'm becoming or who's entered, there was the classic battle between mind and soul, between consciousness to subconsciousness, between the physical and the spiritual, between my old purpose in life that I did not fulfill versus the new purpose in life that I've been fulfilling. And usually when this happens, a person gets into a deep depression or a very bad mental state. There's no going around that. A lot of the time when people talk about spiritual battles and all that stuff, this is a real thing. And I was very depressed. I was very confused. I had a lot of visions that modern medicine described as hallucinations. Now I know that, you can look at it that way. It's fine. If science wants to call it this, it's fine. I call it what it is. And that's, seeing spiritual beings. All of a sudden I'm realizing, like, why is all these abilities and a lot of psychic abilities and things that I never asked for myself, never studied, never requested, never believed in before. It's almost like I inherited it. Like all that stuff is coming to me. And I thought that I was going crazy. I thought that something's wrong with me. I thought that I'm getting just, it was a battle. And to a point that, I was married at the time, and it affected me badly, to a point when I decided that I can't deal with these dreams and visions and all these like supernatural things that happened to me, because it was scary. When you taste the spiritual and consume it and become part of it and bring it into this world again, you take the good of it and you take the less good of it. For everything there is that equivalent. There's a spiritual balance in this world. For everything physical, there's a spiritual equivalent. So me, I was consuming this spirituality. So I was seeing at the beginning the very, very scary part of it, and I was getting into a deep depression, and that ended up not wanting to live. And just because I said that, I ended up in a hospital, and I didn't know why, because I didn't belong there, but I was there for 48 hours in a psychiatric hospital. But get that, after 48 hours, I helped healing half of the people that were there with me by just being with them. And all of a sudden I'm going there, talking to everybody, and I don't belong there. I was just telling my ex-wife, like, hey, I'm depressed. I'm a veteran too, so I had PTSD, whatever you want to call it. So that's what was my diagnosis. And I said, hey, I'm pretty depressed. I don't want to live anymore. And I ended up there, and I didn't realize why I ended up there. But I helped people. Like, people wrote me letters. One of them started speaking after years of not speaking to his family or staff. He told me thank you, because I was talking to him. And all of a sudden I'm doing stuff. I find myself in these areas in life and positions in life and places in life that I would never ended up and otherwise, and I'm helping people. And everything I do is just like it just works around me helping people and helping souls and getting the feedback from them. And I'm like, all these things, they don't happen against me. They happen for me, and that there's a reason here. And then all of a sudden, I started changing. I started seeing people who passed away and telling random people, hey, doing like psychic stuff, like, hey, your husband who used to play music and used to dance with you, he misses dancing with you. Just randomly, people that I would meet in the fitness club.
I'm sure that went over very well.
Yeah, I mean, people start crying, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" And I'm the type of person who would make fun of these people prior to what happened to me. I was completely the opposite. So I started getting disabilities, and since then, especially in the past 6 months, I've helped over 130 people almost every day from every corner of the world. Especially, and when I say help, nothing supernatural. Nothing like reading the future, nothing like that. It's mostly speaking to people who need direction in life, and I'm speaking to them as an old soul. People who dealing with losses, people who mourn. For example, I had parents who, bury their children, and this is one of the worst pains a human being can face. It is the worst pain a human being can face in this consciousness. So when I'm speaking to them and giving them hope, it's like, listen, I've been in that side. There is no death. Don't worry about it. Your son, your daughter, your husband, your mother, your father, they're okay. And they hear my story and they get the message. And then all of a sudden, from this very sad, crying face, you find people who end up with a smile, with this. You see the light in their soul. And this is what I do. I don't no longer see people, I see their souls.
To watch the entire interview of this near-death experience, click on the video below. And don't forget to subscribe.